Welcome to Study Loop.
So in this problem, we're given the graph of a function. So in part A, we want to find the relative max. Well, the relative max occurs at the highest point that you consider your function. Doesn't necessarily mean it's at infinity. So any point around it has to be below it. So our relative max is going to occur at this point right here, because every point before and every point after, the y values are lower. So when you go ahead and write your relative max, that means you're going to have a relative max at the y-valued ordered pair. Well, this is the ordered pair -6, -1, which means we're going to have a relative max of -1, and this occurs when x is equal to -6. So that's our relative max. Now we need our relative min. So this is going to occur at the lowest point that you could see. It's where every point above is above it to right before and right after. So this will be our relative min because every point before and every point after is just above. So notice this is the ordered pair 0, -7. So the way we rate our relative min is that we're going to have a relative min at the y value, which is -7, so of -7, and this occurs when x is equal to 0. Now, for part C and part D, we want to find when the function's increasing and decreasing. So we're going to always read our graphs going from left to right. So if we read the graph from left to right, this graph starts by increasing up until we get to the maximum value. That occurs when x is equal to -6. So we're increasing from -infinity up until -6. Well, then the graph is going to decrease until we get to our relative min when x is 0. So the graph is going to decrease from -6 to 0. Lastly, after this point, this graph is then going to start increasing and it's going to increase forever. So the way we'll write it is that it's going to increase starting when x is 0 up until positive infinity. Next, part E, we want to find the domain. Well, the domain is all the possible x values. So if you read this graph from left to right, this graph is going to hit every single x value, which means that our domain is all real numbers. So we're going from -infinity to positive infinity. And lastly, the range. The range represents all of our possible y values. Well, as you can see, at the beginning, our graph is going to decrease forever. At the end, it's going to increase forever. And we hit every single y value in between. So our range is also going to be all real numbers, going from -infinity to positive infinity.